In this video, you're going to learn how to solve inequality word problems, and we're going to go through 6 examples together. I'm going to give you some tips and techniques as we go through these problems to help make it easier for you to solve these types of problems. So let's dive into the first example. It says if it costs $25 to rent a moped plus 25 cents per mile, how far can you travel with a budget of $45? Now what we want to think to ourselves is, okay, budget of $45. So can we spend more than $45? No, because that would be over our budget. Can we spend exactly $45? Sure, that would be all the money that we have, or we could spend less than that. So in this case, we're thinking the amount that we spend has to be, this quantity here has to be less than or equal to $45. So sometimes it's helpful to write it like in a word inequality. So you put some words in there. Then you can go ahead and substitute some numbers. So we can say, it costs $25 for the day, or just, to rent it. So we're going to say 25 plus 25 cents times the number of miles that you go. So that's the amount that you're spending, and it has to be less than or equal to $45. Remember, this inequality sign, it points, well, there's a couple different ways to think about it. It points to the smaller quantity and it opens to the larger quantity. Also, you can think about this is kind of like an L for less than. So this quantity here is L less than or equal to, see, $45. Just some little tips to help you to remember. Now, you want to get the variable on one side, numbers on the opposite side. So that means we're going to subtract 25 from both sides, leaving us with the variable here on the left. Okay, and that equals 20. And then we want to solve for just one m. So instead of multiplying by 0.25, let's go ahead and divide both sides by 0.25. And m is less than or equal to, let's go to the calculator, 20 divided by 0.25 is 80. So that means, and you could write a sentence here, you could say the number of miles that I'm able to travel on this moped would be 80 miles or less. Okay. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, let's try example number 2 now. It says a fitness club charges a membership of $120 plus $5 each visit, while non-members are charged $12 each visit. How many times would a person need to go to make the membership worth it? Now, what does that mean, make the membership worth it? Well, it means that being a member would be cheaper, meaning it would cost less than, or equal to being a non-member. So if you're interested in saving money, let's say, you're trying to decide, should I join this club or should I just, pay each time that I go? That's a question that sometimes people bounce. Well, I might not use it, or maybe I'm going to go a lot and it'd be better just to be a member and I'll save money in the long run. You're trying to figure that out. But again, notice we started with like a word inequality. We just keep it real simple. Just say, when is a member going to be paying less than or equal to a non-member? Then it would be worth it, right? To pay that $120 out of pocket right at the beginning. So let's look here. What does a member pay? Well, a member pays $120 once plus $5 times X times that they go and visit this club, right? So if they go 10 times, that would be 5 times 10, it'd be $50, or 4 times it'd be $20, but you have to always pay that $120 once. And then how much do non-members pay? Well, they pay more each visit. See, they pay $12 each visit, but they don't have to pay this hefty $120 one-time fee, right? So it's just going to be 12 times X visits. So if they go 3 times, that's $36, right? Okay, so now we've got everything we need. Let's just solve it. So we want to get the variables on one side, numbers on the other. So I'm just going to subtract 5x from both sides. Okay, so now we have 120 is less than or equal to 7x. We want to solve for one of our variables, so instead of multiplying by 7, let's divide both sides by 7. And I'm going to go to the calculator. You can do this by hand if you want, but just for the sake of time here, we have 17.1 is less than or equal to x. Now, when you do inequalities, you want the variable on the left. So I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to flip it. If I do that, see how it's opening towards the x? It's still going to be opening towards the x. It reads a little bit nicer here. X has to be greater than or equal to 17.1 visits. Now, remember, when you solve these inequality problems, you want to write a sentence. You want to kind of summarize what the solution means. Like, what's 17.1 even mean, right? Well, you can't go 0.1 of a visit. That doesn't make any sense. So what we're going to do here, which is a little counterintuitive, normally we think, okay, 0.1, I round down. But here we're actually going to round up because it's actually going to take 18 visits in order for being a member to be less than being a non-member, okay? And so that's the key on this one. So a little bit of a twist there because some students will think to round down, but it's actually going to be once you get to that 18th time that you go, it will be cheaper. If you just go 17 times, and you can test it out, 12 times 17, and put it in for 5 times 17, you can compare. You're going to see that it's not going to be beneficial yet. It's at that 18th time. So I would say 18 visits or more, it's cheaper to be a member. I'd write a sentence about it. Okay, let's go to another example. Okay, let's take a look at number 3 now. It says the width of a rectangle is 6 inches less than the length. The perimeter is at most 44 inches. What are the largest possible dimensions of the rectangle? So first of all, I want to say that if you've been following my videos, my Mario's Math Tutoring YouTube channel for a while, you know that I try to be really efficient with each of my videos. I try to give you as kind of the most information I can in the least amount of time. And I try to target different types of problems to kind of give you a good, I try to make each problem count is what I'm trying to say. So each one of these problems is a little bit different to kind of highlight important things you want to know. And I try to be efficient with how I teach. So I hope you appreciate that. The width of a rectangle is 6 inches less than the length. So let's say if the length was L, that means the width, or this narrower dimension, has to be L minus 6. So sometimes when you're doing word problems or story problems, it's helpful to draw a diagram. So you draw a picture. And then you can try to write an equation. So if this is the length, this side here is also the length L. If this is the width, this is also the width, L minus 6. And it says that the perimeter is at most 44. Now when we think of at most, some students get a little bit confused. They think, most sounds like more, that sounds like greater. But say if your parents say you can, watch TV at most 1 hour a day, right? Can you watch TV for 2 hours? Well, not if you don't want to get in trouble, right? So could you watch it for 1 hour? Yeah, that'd be okay. Could you watch it for less? Yeah, that'd be okay. You just can't watch it for more. So when you see that word at most, that means that it has to be less than or equal to 44 inches. So the perimeter has to be less than or equal to 44 inches. Now, what is the perimeter? It's the distance all the way around the rectangle. So it'd be L plus L minus 6 plus L plus L minus 6. That's 4L minus 12 if we add up all the sides. Okay, and now we're going to solve for L. So let's get the variables on one side, numbers on the other. We're going to add 12 to both sides. Divide both sides by 4 to get L by itself. So that comes out to 14. So the length has to be less than or equal to 14 inches. Now, what's interesting, see how it says what is the largest possible dimensions? So it could be less than 14, it could be equal to 14, it can't be more than 14. So if we're thinking largest, we're thinking 14's our length, that's the biggest. So the width, though, is going to be the length minus 6. So 14 minus 6 would be 8. So we're going to say it's 14 inches long, whoops, I said long, L-O-N-G, by 8 inches wide. Those are our dimensions. Okay, so you can write a sentence. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, if you're still watching this video, you might like the way that I explain things. And I just wanted to mention, if you want to go deeper into Algebra 1 topics or even Algebra 2 topics, I've got a link in the video description below talking about how to work through those courses on your own if you're studying, or you just want additional practice, or you want to master those courses. So check out those video courses for sale. But let's look at number 4 now. The sum of 2 consecutive odd integers is no more than 176. Find the 2 largest odd integers. Now, one thing you'll notice about odd integers is they're like this, like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, ... So if I make one of the integers, let's just say x, the next one is 2 bigger than that. So if the first one is x, the next one must be x plus 2, right? And the next one would be x plus 4. It keeps going up by 2 each time to get to the next odd one, right? So when we think about the sum, that means you're adding 2 consecutive. That means, one after another, one odd number, the next odd number, okay? and that sum is no more than 176. Now we talked about this in the last example. No more than sounds like more, but it's actually less than or equal to. So this sum is less than or equal to 176. Okay, so we've got our inequality. Let's solve it now. Combine like terms. Get the variables on one side, numbers on the other. Divide by 2 to get x by itself. And that comes out to 87. So x has to be less than or equal to 87. Now it says find the two largest. Of course I could pick a number that's less than 87, but the largest here would be less than or equal to the 87 would be the largest, right? But what's 87? That's x. What's the next integer, the one next consecutive one? It would be 89, right? So our two integers should be 87 and 89, and you can see if you add these together, you're going to get 176. So our two integers, 87 and 89. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, if you're getting the hang of these, see if you can do number 5 and 6 on your own, and we'll go through them together. So for number 5, it says, what do you need to score on your third quiz to get an average of at least 8, given that your first two quizzes were a 6 and a 7? So kind of visualize if it's like 10-point quizzes, and you're taking 3 of them, and you want to get an average of at least an 8, okay? What do you have to get on that third quiz to get that average of 8 if your first two quizzes were 6 and 7? Now, keep in mind, what's an average? Well, an average, you take the total divided by the number of quizzes, right? So we want our average to be at least 8. Now again, we talked about at most. Now at least means that much or more, right? So if you want to score at least an 8, you want an 8 or a 9 or a 10. You know, 8 is the lowest or higher, right? So we really want our average to be greater than or equal to 8. Again, what's the average? It's the total, which our total is 6 plus 7 plus what we're going to get on our third quiz. We'll call that x since we don't know, divided by the number of quizzes, which is 3 quizzes. That quantity has to be greater than or equal to 8. Okay, so now we've got everything we need. Let's solve it. Instead of dividing by 3, let's multiply both sides by 3. So now we have 6 plus 7 is 13 plus x is greater than or equal to 8 times 3 is 24. Let's get the variables on one side, numbers on the other. So that means x has to be greater than or equal to an 11. So you have to score an 11 or higher on that third quiz, which might not be possible if it's a 10-point quiz, but there might be an extra credit. Maybe you'll get that extra credit point. So let's take a look at one last example. Okay, number 6, it says if a company invests $2,000 in machinery and makes widgets that sell for $8 each and require $3.50 worth of materials, how many widgets does the company need to sell to make a profit of at least $4,500? Okay, so now at least, remember we talked about this in a previous example, that has to be greater than or equal to $4,500, the profit, right? But the profit, it's how much money you take in minus how much you have to spend, right? So it's the leftover, what you take in minus what you have to spend. So if you take in $8 for each widget, that's 8 times the number of widgets sold, minus $3.50 per each widget, okay, because you have to pay for the materials, right? Minus the $2,000 you spent to get set up in business with the machinery, okay? So these are all expenses you have to take away, right, from the income. And that leftover is the profit. Okay, so now let's go ahead and solve. So we've got 8 minus 3.5, which is 4.5x minus 2,000. Let's add the 2,000 to both sides to get the variables on one side, numbers on the other. So that gives us 4.5x is greater than or equal to 6,500. Solve for 1x by dividing by 4.5 to get x by itself. Let's go to the calculator, or you can do this by hand. So we got 6,500 divided by 4.5. Okay, I'm getting 1,444.4. Okay, so x has to be greater than or equal to that, but you can't really make a 4/10 of a widget, which means I'm going to have to round up to meet our profit goal. So this is actually going to be greater than or equal to 1,445 widgets. And you can write a sentence describing that. So Great job if you're able to follow all these inequality word problems, which oftentimes story problems, word problems are difficult for students. I've got over 1,000 videos on my Mario's Math Tutoring YouTube channel helping you in all aspects of math. So as you progress through your courses, check out my Mario's Math Tutoring YouTube channel. I'll put a link to other inequality videos right there if you want more practice, and I'll see you in those videos. I'll talk to you soon.